Welcome to the Executive Hustle podcast, where I am your host, Kirsten, speaker, author, retired CEO, mother of four, and recovering workaholic. Explore with Central Pennsylvania local executives what it takes to lead well, live well, and learn well. Understanding that leaders cannot survive, let alone thrive, without a spirit of curiosity, a discipline of accountability, and a disposition for vulnerability. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Executive Hustle podcast. My guest today is Matt Foss, former D1 football captain, former owner of two companies, former CEO of a PE-backed company, current president of the board of Central Penn Youth Ballet. If you're interested in that, you can listen to Nick, the CEO of Central Penn Ballet. He is in episode 2. Great interview there. Matt is also a husband and father of 3. Welcome, Matt. So excited to have you.
Kirsten, thank you so much. I look forward to this.
Oh, so excited. So we have lots of conversations about current events and leadership and all kinds of things. So I know this is going to be a great conversation. Something I've never asked you, Matt, is how did you end up here? Did the 7 or 8-year-old Matt think you would be coaching and leading and, helping leaders run better businesses?
No, that the 7-year-old thought I was going to be playing for the Chicago Cubs in the outfield.
Oh, football or baseball even.
Yeah, it was
Tell me more.
that was kind of the dream when I was younger. But like I grew up in a business family,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, I guess I look at business just in a different way as an entrepreneur does. When I go to a family event or I with my friends or I sit down and meet somebody new, like that's like my go-to is talk about business because I'm incredibly interested in what people do, how they do it, how you can get better. And I've always kind of been that way. And uh, from when I was young, it's not that money made like was a big thing for me, but it was like that was the scorecard. Like if
Mm,
you did something and you made some money and then you're like, oh, that hard work paid off. Uh, I loved it. And then it's like, how do you then you get into business and you realize how do you get better and the failures that you have. And as an athlete, I was always kind of a coach. Like I was that mentor, I was the motivator, I was the person that kind of drove the team to get through the tough stuff. And that's all business really is. It's just now instead of winning games, you're winning quarters or helping clients. So it's that whole thing. Did I ever believe I would be a coach and mentor and help all these business owners kind of get what they want out of their business? No, but
hmm
at the same time, I've always been a very goal oriented person, so it makes sense.
Yeah. I love how you said business family. Tell me more about that. Were your parents entrepreneurs? Were they business owners?
Yeah, so my mom was a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
She was a eighth grade science teacher. My dad was a
Oh,
business owner. He owned a union and non-union construction company.
okay.
Uh, my grandfather he owned a car, repair type shop.
Uh-huh.
My grandmother, and these were like I knew very little. Like I was just around it. My grandmother owned a restaurant. So yes, very entrepreneurial. Hey, we're going to kind of take the bull by the horns and
Mm-hmm.
control our own destiny kind of family for sure.
Wow. So a long line of people that this is really in your blood.
Yeah, I think
Business.
we are definitely not the Foss lineage is not risk adverse by any
Okay.
means.
Okay. Well, your athletic background is not risk adverse. Tell me a little bit more about how that continues to show up. You have a pretty strong athletic background from college, at least, more probably
Yeah,
that I don't know. How does that continue to show up and shape who you are as a person, who you are as a coach?
yeah. When you're a kid, you have these dreams of what you can do, and it's interesting as a dad right now.
Mm,
You can see in your kids their potential, and you can also you can see the work it's going to take to get there.
Yeah.
And as an athlete, I always I never want anybody to work harder than me. So I really took the practice. I took all those things. I didn't take them for granted, and I actually took a lot of pride in working really hard. And through that, in high school for me, like I was the star athlete, as a lot of people are in high school. And you take that next jump, and there's a lot of fear there. I always you see these kids that are signing their, I'm going to go to whatever school it is, Alabama or Indiana or wherever it is, and like that's really exciting. But on the other end of that, when they walk into that locker room or that university, just like a normal student, they're scared out of their mind because they've just taken this big step, and through there there's a lot of loss, and through there's a lot of failures, and through there's a lot of successes, but you only get there because you keep trying. And I think sports has taught me that, and especially like I make this joke all the time, and people that I play with sometimes send me a text and be like, why the heck did you say that? But like Indiana, we lost a lot. Big Ten
Mm-hmm.
football, Indiana is not a dominant football school.
No, no, it's not.
No, right. So, and I get a flack. I live in Pennsylvania, so I get a lot of flack from Penn State people, but
Sure.
I learned a lot from those losses.
Yeah.
And in a season, you're playing 12 games without going to a bowl game. And the most we ever won in a season was 5.
Okay.
So every week we would show up and believe that we were going to win that next game, regardless who it was. And you'd put the same amount of work into video, into working out, into running, into
Mm.
eating, all these things. And the probability to win was very little, but we believed that we were going to do it. So I believe where sports has really helped me is the failures, and that willpower to not give up. And there's people in sports, as we all know, or anything that you do, right? That people are in it as a team, and there's people that want to give up, and the rest of the team don't let them give up. And where I see business is people let other people give up in business,
Yeah.
and they don't put in that type of work. So I think that is how the sports mat has come out, and very much more like I'm a coach, but I'm a motivator. Like,
Mm. Mm.
believe in yourself, anything can happen. And like, thank goodness I don't have any substance abuse problems, but there's people out there that do. They have big issues of drinking or whatever it might be, and all of a sudden they turn their life around, and people are like, how did you do that? And all it is like a focus and a dedication and a willpower to do it, and to believe in yourself that you can do it. And that's what sports brought to me, and that's like the leader and the coach and the mentor I am, is like, if you get people to believe, that's step number one. And
Mm.
then if they believe in something and they're relentless to be able to get there, like anything is possible. Doesn't matter who you are.
So belief is step one. And more than a coach, you find yourself to be a motivator.
Yeah.
That's really powerful.
It,
Wow.
the motivation to have somebody that you believe in them, um, is critical.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. And when they don't believe in themselves, that's where you step in right now as a business coach.
What was that? I'm sorry.
When they don't believe in themselves, you step in as that motivator right now, as you're pairing up with business leaders. Would that be accurate?
Um, I asked the question one more time because I was going to answer without really thinking through it.
Yeah. Well, sometimes people, especially business leaders, there are times when they don't believe in themselves.
Yep.
So do you find yourself stepping in to believe in them in moments when they don't believe in themselves? Do you feel that role sometimes?
I do, but what I have to really understand is what they are acting like they believe in. I think a lot of leaders
Interesting.
lead with false hope, or because leaders have to lead the rest of the team.
Yeah.
The leader, let's just talk about a CEO in a head basketball, football, baseball cheerleading coach, right?
Yeah.
if that leader doesn't believe that they can beat that team or run that play, like a CEO, if they don't really believe that their company can do this and they go out and tell the people to do it, like you can see right through that. And they're not
Yeah.
going to hold them accountable, or they're going to have a lot of excuses of why they can't do it. So my number one thing is what do you really believe? And if that's less than what you're telling the rest of the team, why is that? And then we can understand where the non-belief comes in, or where the work needs to come, because sometimes just getting clear on what they really want and what they want to do is a lot easier than trying to get them to believe something that's not possible.
Okay. So you're seeking clarity with them. You're
Yeah,
getting, yeah.
yeah, because once they're clear and somebody says, I really want that, just like my son Maddox is 8 years old. I
Mhm.
want to be a professional baseball. Do you really?
Mm.
Really want to be a baseball player? Are you willing to get up and do the things it takes? Yes, I am. Well, guess what? When he says that, now there's a different level of support, motivation that I'm going to give him in that way. Just the same thing as a CEO that says, I want to have $1 billion company.
All right.
$1 billion is the new million from when I was a kid, right? Like, I want to have $1 million business. Okay, I want to have $1 billion business. Okay, do you really? Are you willing to put in the work to get there? Like, well, it just sounds good. Well, it's not, make it sound good. Like, where do we really want to go? And then I motivate them because they believe in it, and you can motivate somebody to get somewhere that they really want to get
If
to.
they really believe it.
If
Yeah.
they really, really
Yeah.
believe it.
Wow. What an interesting nuance to that point. That is super fascinating. Is there a difference? So you've done both of these roles, and I'm curious, as you've worked now probably with both roles and then held both roles, is there a difference between what you see when you're a founder and what you experience, a founder, owner, and a CEO? Are there nuances or differences in how they're leading, their responsibilities, how they're showing up, what you can do in both of those roles?
Oh, I, I don't think I've ever had this question. I think the founder for me personally is harder
Mm-hmm.
because you have an idea and then you have to take that idea and you have to scale it. And there's a lot of pressure on the growth. How do you grow? Where do you want to grow? And it's all kind of on you. When I was the CEO of a already functioning, formed business with a vision, it was my job to, one, not screw it up, deliver a long-term vision that the company was going to have success, and really get the people in line to be able to hit that. It was much more of a,
Mm.
we're gonna give you this really fast car, don't wreck it, and then make it go faster at the same time,
Right, right, right. It's already sort
rather
of
than
built.
rather than
Yeah.
building it. Like, that takes a really special individual to build it, scale it, and to take it to that next level. Where I think that's where a lot of founders really struggle is, I
Hmm.
always use construction as, like, somebody that dug a hole really well and put pipe in the ground, they love doing that and they love that part. But now when that business becomes a 50 or $100 million business and they've got all these other things, they're like, I don't really know how to do that. I just remember digging the hole, and that's why I started this thing.
Yeah.
It's just different, right? And I think that's where the operator comes in. Being a CEO is more of an operator. Well, there are founders out there that can go from digging the hole to an operator, but man, I think that's a special individual to go
Hmm.
upon that journey.
So for the most part, what you see is that founder person being different from the CEO or the operator, someone who can take something that's already built and accelerate it, like the car analogy, versus somebody who can take sort of a dream, an idea, and bring it to life.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
those two type of people are
Hmm.
critical for each other in a business, because a founder, in most founders in this country, have had one business, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And they
yeah.
just know that one thing. And they're most of those are not in a peer group like you run to be able to understand the other pains. So they're just living in this silo of, this
Yeah.
is the way it's done. And those operators come from experience, and they have that confidence that we talked about before, of knowing how to scale or knowing how to solve an operational issue or a financial issue. they come in with that experience and that confidence to that founder, and it takes them to that next level.
Yeah. Yeah. You put in our first couple sentences here, you said the word alignment, I think with a car analogy. That is such a buzzword to you. What does alignment mean? And what do you see as the key to that elusive concept of alignment?
Uh, I was about to use the expletive, but alignment is
You can.
not giving a shit what anybody else thinks.
Hmm.
This is where we're going. This is how we're going to get there. We're going to screw up. We don't have the master plan today of what 5 years looks like, but we're going to go with everything that we've got. I think that's the alignment where there's so many people that want alignment that is like a manual of what success looks like.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden they're like, okay, we're not getting there, so we're not aligned. It's like, are we all going this way? Are we willing to do all these things? And they go, yes, I am, or no, I'm not. And when they say no, I'm not, that's just as much being in alignment, because they're going, I don't want to do that. I don't want to put in that work, or I don't want to go into that new industry. And that's getting alignment. So now you can weed things out, and you've just got to focus, and you know where you're going.
So it sounds like it's the ability to say no.
It's the ability to say no or fully commit.
Hmm.
And I think the alignment, where people believe that this word alignment is like culture, it's the
Yeah.
same,
Oh,
or
yeah.
accountability. Like
Yes.
we want to have a good culture. Okay.
Aligned around the culture. Yep.
Yeah, how do you do that, right? Or how do you have accountability, or how do you have alignment? Oh, we need to communicate better. No, we have to be really clear where you're going and let people have the choice to say yes or no. And when they're not committed, we've got to tell them, you're not aligned to where we're going. And you either make a choice to change, or they, they're no longer there. They're not going after that mission critical thing with you.
I love how clear you are with that. Very straightforward. And the word that came to mind as you were talking is fortitude. I
Yeah.
don't think we use that word enough. And I have not run into a lot of leaders with enough fortitude to get from point A to point B.
Because it's scary, right? And not to get into this whole AI thing, but AI and business and the way you do sometimes, it's like, I want to put something into AI and it tell me what the masses are going to think are the right thing I should do,
Yeah.
right? And I think AI serves a ton of great purposes, but when you don't care what it takes, and you know what that end thing is, like, nothing's going to stop you. And it doesn't
Yeah.
matter who tells you no, who tells you yes,
Right.
who tells you should do it this way or that way. Like,
Or
you're going
how
to go,
uncomfortable it gets, right? How uncomfortable it is, how
yep,
challenging it is. For some people, what you have to sacrifice.
yep.
That can get really, really sticky. Success is a real lousy teacher. And you've been somebody that's been vulnerable with the challenges that you've had. Talk to me about a lesson that you've learned through failure.
Um, I think this is one that everybody hears and knows, but I'll never forget when I was no longer in that CEO role.
Hmm.
I was probably 3 or 4 months after. Like, I went through, like, it was ultimately like almost depression, right? Like, I just kind of lost my way, who I was, like, defined by a company. And I remember Janelle, my wife, just telling me, be like, I was a CEO's wife. And,
Mm.
like, it was a title that I think she was proud of, to the public, saying that, but like it rips you apart,
Mm.
because ultimately your focus is more on, those 100 people, and then, the people in their family. And it's like, your focus isn't here. And what I realized is that, like, I was doing it all for my family, right?
In
That's the
in
reason I was
name.
putting all, but ultimately it really wasn't for my family. It was for me personally.
Mm.
That's why I was doing it, because I wanted to have success. I wanted to be able to buy him things. I wanted to be able to do these things and, have the, was it really for my family?
Hmm.
No, it's for me.
Hmm.
And I believe a lot of people get wrapped up in that, oh, I'm doing this for my family, and the family, that's why in the moment, I wish I'd have known that.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and there's a multitude of others. I think how to be a really good leader and give really good feedback to people, and not tell them what I'm thinking as a leader, but ask them questions to get them there to understand how I felt, or disappointment, or why I thought they had success, rather than tell. Like, I think that's one of the biggest things. If I could have gone back early in my days of being a leader, is to have more questions than I have
Yeah.
statements,
Yeah.
because every leader thinks they have to have these statements and these big like epiphanies and this like rah speech, and it's really not that.
Hmm. Yeah. I often talk about it as leading from curiosity versus expertise. When you get to a certain level, like your expertise gets you there, gets you in the door, gets you up the ranks, but at a certain level, that's not why you're there anymore. And the people around you have the answers. They have, what's needed to move to the next level. And you've got to be leading from curiosity, asking more questions. I love what you just said.
Yeah,
That's great.
they don't teach that. They just don't teach it,
They
and
don't.
there's a big shift from the way you're parented as a kid and through college, and you're told, and you're not asked questions, you're told this is the way it is. And you feel like when you become a leader, since we did a good job in our job, we're going to when we become a leader, we tell that next person what to do rather than to ask them. um it's a tough transition.
Yeah, I think there's an entirely new way of leading, especially with what, 5 generations now in the workforce. There's 3 generations that want to be led differently than the last two, and
Yep.
how are we rising to that occasion? And you're right, no one is teaching that academically. So we're learning it on the fly. We're learning it contingency based, right? Oh, well, that didn't work at the meeting. Okay, what am I going to try next? Right?
Yep.
We're learning through those failures, for certain.
I'll double down on this too, is that um really good leaders realize that they can't lead everybody the same way as well, right?
Yes.
Just because this is how I'm a very much punch me in the face, tell me what I got to do.
Mhm.
I'm not going to let you down. I'm going to go change. And the people that I lead that are led that way, that's really easy for me. And then I look at the other ones that take them a long time to make a decision. That's a real struggle. And I look at it going, well, they can't be taught. Well, no, I just need to learn how to lead them in a different way. I think that's another, like, people that are really good at that, leading people in the way that they need to be led rather than just one way. Those are some of the most amazing leaders I've ever been around.
So as you've run into leaders who may not have made that switch, they're still frustrated that it's, in my previous world, it's the learner's problem, right? The
Yep.
teacher blames the learner. So here the leader is blaming the employee. It's their problem. Like they're not doing it the way I said or the way I wanted. They should just, function under my leadership the way it is. They're not reflecting back on themselves. If you've run into a leader who hasn't made that switch yet, what have you found to be effective in, in kind of bringing them to that new way of thinking as a coach?
Uh, I For me, coaching through it, it takes a long time because they got to understand their issue. But the
Hmm.
thing that just absolutely stops them in their tracks is a personality test.
Interesting.
I use Culture Index a ton because I
Okay.
love it, because it can really, and there's multitude discs, there's all kinds.
Yeah.
But when they see that and they realize, ooh, this is how I make decisions, this is how I show up, and this person's different, and they're like, yeah, that's why I'm frustrated. Oh my gosh, yes, that's how I am as a leader. That's the kind of the aha moment. But what most people do with those personality tests is they're like, oh, yep, that's it. And then they never actually use it to go deeper with their people and learn how to communicate better. So
Yeah.
I use that as like the aha moment, and then how to kind of teach off of that has worked really, really well.
Yeah. So it's not just giving them the information, but it's also teaching them how to use it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's valuable. And they
Yeah,
have to
and
understand how they're different. Hmm.
it is. And I think what's even the vulnerable part is when you have a very, let's just say, a dominant CEO, and they don't really realize that he or she is like that, and their team has the understanding of what their personalities are and who they are, and you can call them out when they're leading you and say, "Ooh, like you're trying to push me to make a decision today. I need 2 or 3 days to process this to
Hmm.
make a really good decision in my mind." And they go, "Oh, that's right." And they don't get as frustrated. So it's communication both ways.
I love the need that you reference there, right? So it's both the leader and the team being comfortable, being vulnerable, being safe, use whatever buzzword you want to ask for what they need so that we can all move forward, right? I need you to be clear on where we're going. I need you to state your intentions, right? Or on the flip side, I need those 2 to 3 days to make that decision. I need you to tell me what you really think, right? The ability for everyone to speak up and to speak clearly, to speak plainly, that to me has been a differentiator when working with teams and trying to get them to go from unhealthy to healthy is people are just not being honest in the moment and being clear about what they need to do their best. And that goes both ways from the leader and the team. I don't know if you've seen any of that.
Yep. I just simply put all of this stuff, all the culture, all the communication, everything that we talk about in leadership starts with trust.
Yes,
And
yes.
if you don't have trust, you cannot build, you're building on a rocky foundation.
Hmm.
And everybody out there, if you would walk into a leadership team meeting to a high trust, high vulnerable, high friction organization, when you'd walk into that meeting, you would think they are so dysfunctional because they are going at each other.
Yeah.
They are going at the issue. It is not personal. It seems personal from the outside that they're calling each other out or putting each other out there, but it's not, because they trust each other and all they're trying to do is get better. And
Right.
I realized that one time I was in a meeting, it was a marketing meeting at Nike,
Mm.
and I walked out of there and I'm like, that was a disaster. That was like, how did those people talk to each other like that? And like, it was just uncomfortable for me. And
Uh-huh.
I remember walking out of the meeting and these two people that had this conflict, and it wasn't a personal conflict. It was about the business, something that wasn't getting done. And the lady said to this gentleman, she's like, "Hey, I'll see you tonight at baseball practice." And I'm just like, I would have
Wait,
emotionally,
what?
like, yeah, I would have emotionally like not want to even talk to this. And for them, it was like, that's just another day of us solving issues.
Yeah.
And that is real team health. That is
Yep.
real alignment. That is real vulnerability. And that is real peer-to-peer accountability. That if you don't have that, it seems really uncomfortable. When you have it, it's like there's no other way to do it.
Hmm. It's so cathartic. You feel so good afterwards when
Yep.
you know it has been trust-based, healthy conflict. And it's so icky on the other side of things when you've had like, hey, we've just had our level 10, we've gotten through all of our things, everyone's checked boxes, and we've done our scoring and this and that. And you leave the meeting going, we didn't talk about anything that we should have
Yep.
talked about.
Yep.
And you have all the water cooler conversations, and everyone feels, resentful and icky and, you know, and I've had both experiences. And it's so frustrating when you are trying to move that team that's disingenuous and, what does Kim Scott call it? Ruinous empathy, right?
Yep.
You're not being clear and kind and have the candor, and you're not moving that team to that healthy conflict. What are I'm sure there's listeners in both camps right now listening to this. What are some of your go-to strategies to go from that, surface level, we're checking the boxes. Hey, we're doing our, whether we're doing 4 disciplines or EOS or, Rockefeller, we're doing our thing, right? We got whatever it is. but we're really not solving what needs to be solved. We're not having the conversations we're supposed to be having. What are some of your go-to strategies that we can give our listeners to move them towards that Nike meeting?
If there is, number one, if we're just talking about a leadership team meeting, if
Yeah.
there's right, if there's somebody in that meeting that we can't have real conversations because they're in there, we
Mm-hmm.
have to get them out. Meaning, oh, my assistant is in the meeting and I don't want them to know about this detail. Or, hey, we've got this person that's lower, down in the food chain. We don't want them to know about us changing the strategy in the business. Number one, you have to get
Get them out.
people out of there, out of the room, that we can't have these type of conversations, because I think that sometimes we just try to get everybody in the room to solve all the issues, and then we're not talking about the most important things.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Number two is that if there are two owners in the business, there has to be a separate meeting that I call an owner's box meeting, that they are absolutely aligned on where they're going. And this is where the real tension comes in, because if you have multiple owners, like, you have to be on the same page when you come into the leadership team meeting, or what happens is the leaders take one owner's side or the other. So you're never going to really get to that candid, uh,
Mm-hmm.
conversation.
Yeah, they're splitting the parents.
If
Perfect.
you have, yeah, exactly, they're splitting parents. If you have one owner, the key is, if the owner doesn't understand that they're the problem, if they are the problem, there's got to be somebody, and this is the camp that the person that's listening to this is like, Matt, I've got that owner.
Yeah.
Somebody has to have the backbone to go to them and say, if we're going to be a great company, we have to do this. And you're one of the issues and the reasons why we're not.
Yeah.
And yes, you might get fired to do that. But do you want to work at that organization for the rest of your life,
Mm-hmm.
where you're going to get fired for telling somebody something that was honest and something that was going to improve the business? And 90% of the time, you're never going to get fired. That person is going to appreciate that you care enough about the business, their company, that you tell them that they are the issue.
Right.
And then you can work through that. Or you find a coach that can help you work through that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where me and you have so much success, is these conversations are really hard.
Yep.
And I tell people, is like, if I'm having an issue with Janelle in a conversation, guess what? We go to therapy. There's somebody that helps us talk through it. And, if there's this big issue that we both know, like husband and wife, that we're dealing with as partners, like, we avoid it. It feels really icky, like you said.
Yeah.
But as soon as you broach that, like, I'm just going to say it, and you say it, you realize the other person wants to get through it too. And then you get through that emotional part, and then you can solve the issue.
Yeah.
So I think those are the three steps: getting somebody out of there. If there's multiple owners, like, those owners have to be on the same page. And if there's one owner and they don't understand that they're part of the problem, like, somebody on that leadership team has to step up and have that conversation with
Mm-hmm.
them in private. And it can't be this
Yeah.
leverage type of, you're
Right.
this or you're that. It has to
Yeah.
be about us getting better. We need this from you, and we need to change the way we're doing things. And then
Mhm.
it's truly up to your choice. If they go, nah, we don't need that, well, it's your choice to stay there, or your choice to go find somewhere better. And I
Yeah.
think that's what it all comes down to. It's our choice.
Yeah. And I think it really goes, that person that has to stand up, that makes that choice, their intention is so important for that owner to receive it. That they have to stand in a place of love,
Yeah.
right? Their love for the company, where they want to see the team go, their love for the owner, that I'm willing to stand in this uncomfortable position more than continue in this unhealthy way, right?
Yep.
And I think that intention comes through. Right? I've been the recipient of it. I've had people stand in that uncomfortableness and say, like, you're part of the problem and you
Yep.
need to change. And did it suck? Yes. Yes, it did. But
Yep.
if no one had done that for me, no one had loved me enough to do that, I would still suck. And I don't want that, right? And I wouldn't have
Yes.
wanted it for the team, you know. And you're right, it's a choice. but I think it's a choice that many people would rather make than continue to be complacent and miserable and to take that home to their families, right? They're
Yep.
taking that, if we don't, what's the saying? Oh, if we don't talk it out, we act it out,
Yep.
right? And so it's happening. They're going to have to talk it out, or they're just going to keep acting it out.
And there are,
Right.
I don't know what the percentage is. I don't have it, but there's going to be owners,
Mm-hmm.
companies that go, nope, not going to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is totally up to them. And they have all the right in the world to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
I think it's that next step of when they say that and they do that, or they say, yeah, I want to, but their actions don't follow. Like,
Right.
do you give up? Once again, this is where the motivation and the sports come. Do you give up and just say, oh, well, they're never going to change? Or do you keep trying? And then if you keep trying and you go, this is a losing battle, do you stay in that losing battle, or do you make a choice to go find the leader that you want, or become the leader that you want to be, and change the business in a smaller way? Because
from where you are,
if you end up doing that, it's going to cascade through the entire organization.
Yeah. People will see it. You can always lead from where you are. Well, Matt, this has been an awesome conversation. We have gone all over the map, from family business, you starting from just a legacy of businesses, athletes, from learning how to be a motivator, and, a team that was at 500, right? Is that the right way to say it?
Yep.
And what that taught you. I love the point of getting clarity about what you believe before you motivate yourself and others. That was just a really cool nuance that I hope listeners will take away. We really dove in on what alignment and fortitude looks like in a company. And who are you doing this for? One of the topics I like to focus on, and why this podcast is titled the way it is, The Executive Hustle. You really talked about who you're doing this for, and you shared a story about when you were a CEO and what that really meant, and the mistakes you made in terms of the impact to your family. And I know we've offline shared some commonalities around that. And so I know there'll be some listeners taking something away from that. A near and dear topic to my heart, which is lead with curiosity, not with expertise, and saying more questions than statements. So that is going to be a big takeaway. And then this, 3-step process for moving your meetings from icky to Nike quality. So just do it. Be the person that just does it. Get up into the owner's box there, and motivated with love, have a conversation that could move the ball there. So just really awesome stuff today. I really enjoyed our conversation. You are an EOS implementer. We didn't dive into that, but if people want to know more about what you do, how you do those things that help businesses get to the next level, where could they find more information about you?
Yeah, they can go to my website, which is mattfoss.com, mattfoss.com. Simple enough. All the information's there on what I do as a coach, what I do as a mentor, how I do EOS, and there's other services that I provide, but it's ultimately really focused on owners and the leadership teams of organizations that want to grow.
That's amazing. And we'll have all of that in the show notes to make it easy for folks to find you and get more information. Thank you so much, Matt. This has been awesome.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you for joining me today for another great hustle conversation with the Central PA executive. You can find out more about my guest in the show notes. And if you liked the episode or have something to add to our conversation, please find me on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Subscribe, rate, and review. Remember, leadership is best practiced in community. You know a leader who needs to hear something from this episode, so pay it forward and send it to them today. Don't wait. Until next time, the best leaders not only lead well, they live well and learn well. Bye now.